Hello, and welcome to Level Up Your Talents Abroad, a series of inspiring interviews of expats where we uncover through their stories what talents they have developed. We are exploring the behind the scene because too often we only see the end result of an expatriation, but we miss out on the process, what it really takes to get where they are today, and how, with this experience, how they level up their talents abroad. I'm your host, Anne Guslandi. So before we diving into the interview, please follow us on our LinkedIn page, WO.MEN by Neoma Alumni. The link is in the description. And then we will organize a live Q&A with the participants. So if you would like to be notified about this event, put your name down. There is a link in the description as well. Now let's dive in. Okay, so today we have the pleasure of welcoming Lauren to this series. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. We are thrilled to have you with us today. And thank you again for accepting, for sharing your story and exploring what it really takes to level up your talents abroad. So first, for our listener, could you please share with us your journey, like to give us some context? How did you arrive in Tokyo? Because this is where we're going today.
Of course, yeah. So I've actually been here for 8 years and a half now. It's going to be 9 years very soon. It's next September. I actually arrived at the time I went to business school in Neoma in Rouen. And I arrived because I was pursuing a double degree as part of my master. So I arrived September 2016, which was supposed to be just for 1 year to complete my degree and get both my degree from Japanese university and then my master from Neoma. And then after 1 year, I decided, actually not even after 1 year, probably a few months in, I said, oh, you know what, I really like it here. Maybe I should stay a bit longer. And then a bit longer, and then a bit longer. And so now a bit longer has become almost 9 years.
Yes, that's the way it goes. It's the
Yeah.
same for me. I was going for Shanghai, like, yeah, just a couple of years, and
Yeah.
it was 12 years at the end of the day. Um, so just a quick question. So you started this degree in Japanese university, and then you decided to take a job. You decided to stay. So what make you decide to stay in that country instead of going back?
I think very quickly after I arrived in Tokyo, I felt right away that just I felt good there. It's a very different like society and a way of like being and maybe also like behaving that it just really connected with me in a way I felt just comfortable. Much more comfortable maybe than I would have felt back when I was in France. And I kind of wanted to stay in this type of like comfort and just I felt like I was kind of opening up as a person, becoming maybe like, I don't know, more open to others and opportunities. And at one point I decided like maybe I should continue to explore this rather than just like, okay, I'm gonna like go back. That was like a fun, like kind of say break in my life. And then I kind of go back to real life. It's like, how about I just try and continue staying like this since I was so like happy. And then I was like, okay, let's try and find a job and see if I can continue this. And then I managed to find a 1 year contract at a company. So I worked there for a year. And then I was like, yeah, I think I'm still not done. So I was like, my contract was ending. I was like, okay, I need to find another job now. So then I was able to find another 2 year contract this time. I found a VIE, which was kind of like the perfect job to have in a country like in a city like Tokyo. And then again, it was just year after year, it's like, do I want to keep staying? Yeah, sure. I really like it. And then finally, I was able to get a full-time position. So then it kind of became not like, oh, do I want to stay a bit longer? But it's kind of like, how long am I going to stay here? And so far, I guess I haven't grown tired of it.
Yeah, it's really like you're shifting your mindset. Like, okay, now I'm here, and how long I'm going to stay? If we are, let's say, let's go back a little bit.
Mhm.
in that experience abroad. The first year you arrived, because like usually when we want to go abroad, we have an idea, and when we arrive, the reality is very often super different, and there is a big gap from what we imagine. And so when you arrive, so that time you were a student, what is the biggest challenge you faced in the beginning?
Well, so I think the one point on which I kind of had an advantage on other people is that like I didn't have any specific interests or love for like Japanese culture. Compared to I think a lot of people, like especially today, Japan is very popular as a tourist destination. People just like kind of dream, is their dream of going to Japan. Me, I kind of fell on Japan kind of by like, how do you say, like it just it was not something I was like, okay, Tokyo sounds fun. I didn't actively necessarily pursue to go to Tokyo. So I didn't came with any specific idea of how it was going to be. I honestly didn't even do that much research in the culture or the language. So when I arrived, it was kind of a complete blank slate of like, let's see what this is going to look like. I have no idea what to expect. And probably, yeah, at first, my first, let's say, week was kind of a big shock. I was afraid of to get out of my dorm room because it was just like, what is happening? Where am I? I was my first time so far from home, and I was really, really scared. Like, okay, when can I go back? When's the next holiday so I can go back? I was just really, really scared. And then I decided just, okay, step outside of your room and then actually go explore. Don't be so scared. And then once I started going out, and of course I had the advantage of being a student. So you go to university, you meet people, you can make friends very easily. And so you like quickly build relationships and just like go explore all together. You're all brand new to the country. So it really kind of helps you to like get more comfortable with it. And from like between my first week where I was calling my parents crying, like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Probably 3 weeks later, I was like, why are you calling me, mom? I'm busy. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. So it was very, yeah, it was quite a drastic change from one week to another. But of course, the language also was a big, like,
Did you know how to speak Japanese when you arrived in Tokyo?
I had no idea about Japanese. Like I said, I was completely clueless. Probably should have prepared a bit more on that front at the time. So at first I was really, yeah, I was like, wait, how do you say thank you in Japanese? Like, this is not a good advice. Try at least to learn how to say thank you and hello.
Yeah.
But then again, the advantage of being a student at the time, I was having like survival Japanese class. So quickly I could kind of manage the basics. So once you can manage the basics, it's fine. But of course, once I decided to stay a bit longer, it was definitely a different type of challenge. It's like, oh, you want to find a job, you need to be able to like do an interview. And I went into interview with like, okay, let's speak in Japanese, and I could barely speak. So that was a big challenge for sure that I had to go over, and that I managed for now. But yeah,
Yes.
so.
Language is definitely a really, really big challenge. But thank you for sharing that story. It resonates so much with mine when I went to Shanghai, because it was exactly the same. I mean, when you're young, you're not prepared so much. Just go, take
Yeah.
the leap, and then you see what's with an open mind and say, okay, what's gonna happen? And actually, that's for me, I went with really like full heart. Let's go.
Yeah, no,
Then
exactly.
so you embrace all the challenges, the surprise, and all of that. But so we talk about the challenges, but do you have any, did you experience like nice surprises, like things you were not expecting, but you were really, really nicely surprised about?
I mean, overall, like, of course, I think Japan can be seen as a country that's very, like extra modern. And then you have like Tokyo is this like big city, most dense city in the world, biggest city in the world. It's just, it felt at times when you see it on the movies or like in documentaries, like very overwhelming, loud city. And for me, it's been the complete like opposite of discovering. I find it very quiet because of course there's so many people, but people are kind of like respectful of other people's kind of like boundaries and own space. So you feel this kind of like calm and quiet. It's of course it's a rush, but it's still much more relaxed somehow. I don't know. I always feel the difference when I go back to France and then I'm in Paris, and just like Paris is loud and it's like intense, and it's just like people talk very loudly, like you have like the cars on the streets. It's for me it's almost sensory overload when I go to Paris. With Tokyo is very much more quiet, and that's why also one of the things that I feel more relaxed in that type of setting.
If we're going back on the language issue,
Mhm.
um, because yes, having the survival Japanese and jumping through, like being fluent,
Mhm.
how did you bridge that gap? How did you
Yeah.
overcome that challenge? Because that's a real big challenge.
It took me a long time, to be honest. Probably, I would say my first 5, 6 years here, I was really barely speaking any Japanese, because the way I was seeing it is like I have to be perfect at talking. Otherwise, if I make mistake or anything, it's gonna be like people are gonna correct me, they're not gonna understand me, or and also I think I was surrounded by people who were either foreigners with really good level of Japanese or native Japanese speaker. So they speak together really well, and you try to jump in with your really bad Japanese, and then kind of people sometimes makes fun of you, and so you get super conscious. So I was like, I'd rather not do than do badly, which is worse like strategy
Mhm.
to have if you want to get fluent in a language. And I don't know, I had like kind of a it clicked somehow like 2, 3 years ago, where I was like I started trying to talk more with my Japanese colleagues at work, and they were just like, you know, Lauren, we can understand what you're saying. Even if you're going to make mistake, people are going to be respectful of the fact that you're trying. So I tried more and more, and even to this day, I speak really bad Japanese. I make a lot of mistake. I just like grammatical error. Sometimes I'm missing the vocabulary, but it's just I'm trying, and usually they understand me. So, and as long as you're trying, and I think Japanese people are also can be very kind, and then they respect the fact that you want to try.
Yeah,
So as long as you do that, then it's fine. And then from that moment on, when I put way less pressure on myself, that's when my like level got so much better. Because I was like, okay, stop being scared, just try it. And the more you try, the better you'll get at it.
that's a great advice. That's a
Yeah.
great advice. We should all write that down and say, okay,
Yes. But it's hard. It took me a lot of time. I wish I had this like 2 years in than like 6 years in.
yeah.
But better late than never.
No, it really takes courage to okay, I'm gonna talk like a 4 years old, but it's okay.
Exactly.
It's fine.
I
And
even tell that even at work, that sometimes I try to speak in Japanese with people, and they say like, then they're like, oh, you can speak a bit. So then they start talking like really fast and really, and I'm like, no, please talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old. And
yes,
then we can have a conversation.
yes. And I think the best way to engage is actually also where in situation where there is no stake. Like
Mhm.
if you want to try it out, like with colleagues, but for the chit chat, or if you are in a shop, this is really something. It's a must to speak it out.
Yeah. And
And
and also don't be too hard on yourself.
yeah, true.
Like relax. Like it's yeah, it's gonna take time. You have to be patient with yourself. I would sometimes get angry at myself. It's like, well, I'm not gonna do anything or get out, because anyway, what's the point? Everything is too hard. Because it is very like important to note, when you're living in a foreign country, you don't really speak that well the language. Every single part of your day can be a challenge,
Yes.
because you gotta go like, oh, I need to go to the post office to send this package. Oh, well, I need to figure out how to talk to like the person at the counter. Oh, I need to go to the bank. Oh, how am I gonna say this word and this word? Every single thing.
Greeting. It's also how to write the address.
Oh
And
God,
that's a big
yeah. Yes, you had the same, yeah. Yeah, kanji is something. But then I would look at Japanese people writing, and they have the worst handwriting. And so I'd be like, oh, you know what? It's like, it's fine. My little
Yeah.
scribbling is fine.
But the nice thing is people are willing to help. Like
Yeah,
for me, like you ask, can you help me write that down? And they do it very nicely, and it establish also a connection. So
exactly.
so it's nice to have that type of connection, because even if we can't write, you can still speak with them. So it's
Mhm.
nice to have this little chit chat, and so the experience is nice. The experience of learning the language is not just in the book, and just this is just about
Yeah,
speaking out and making connection and having this chit chat and this little conversation that also makes you learn about the culture, about everything.
exactly. And it's like pick your battle, basically. Like in terms of learning, you don't need to, like me, I just focus on like talking and listening. And then when it comes to reading, like I can manage to like read and write emails in Japanese. Like yesterday I was at work, I needed to read an email and write an email in Japanese. And now that I'm used to like kind of the way of writing Japanese emails in Japanese, I can do it. I use Google Translate, I use DeepL, I use ChatGPT, and then I can kind of put it together in a way that they see that she's still a foreigner who's writing in Japanese, but she's writing in Japanese. And then when I get an email, yeah, I just put it in Google Translate. And you can, with the tools we have today,
Yeah.
it's so much easier. You don't have to spend hours trying to learn how to write kanji.
Yes.
It's
You
not,
you
it's
can
gonna be waste.
navigate. You
Yeah,
can navigate. Let's move on.
yeah, of
So,
course.
as you are here, it's been like, so you are in Japan now, in Tokyo. It's been
Yes.
almost more than 8 years. You starting being a student, and then 1 year contract, 2 year contract, and now you find a job that is no ending, basically.
Yeah.
So, um, today, do you feel settled in Japan?
Yeah, for sure I do now. It took some time, of course. But yes, I mean the fact that I have my own house, my partner, my own community. I think community is very important in feeling settled, is to have
Mhm.
like people around you that can support you if anything happens, especially when you live like, 10,000 kilometers away from like your family. So you really need to find some kind of, I don't want to say replacement, but like a substitution while you to be able to manage the day to day. So that's
Mhm.
very important. But then also one thing that I felt like now I feel okay with, it took me a long time, is the fact that no matter what, I've been here for a long time, I'm a permanent resident now, I'll never be a Japanese person or local, I'll forever be a foreigner. And
Mhm.
and you have to be okay with that fact, because you'll never be, you can try as much as you want, maybe some people can manage after like tens of years or something, you never be, especially for a society like Japan that is so specific, like you'll never be a local, you'll always be a what we call gaijin, as like a foreigner, no matter what, no matter how long you stay, you're going to arrive in a restaurant and they'll give you an English menu.
Yes.
It's they
Yes.
always think you're a tourist no matter what, and you have to be just okay with that fact and be kind of at peace with it.
Yes. Yes. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. How much, yeah, we adapt, we feel settled, but going up to really full blending, like 100%,
Mhm.
is something that is not possible. But is this what we want to do? That's also the
Mhm.
question. Because if we remain different, it's also nice to bring something different
Mhm.
on the table, and that we can also, because we always think, okay, we go to a country and we learn about the culture, but it's also, we also have the responsibility that we bring our own country culture uh,
Mhm.
to these people, so they also experience our culture, and we are like kind of ambassador, and it's important
Mhm.
also to have that in mind, that is an exchange.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's kind of also striking the balance between trying to like get as much as you can from that new culture, respecting the new culture, but kind of not forgetting where you're coming from.
Hmm.
So you don't want to arrive be like the like foreigner, I'm gonna come like in Europe we do this like this and that. We're more efficient because this and that, is also like understanding like the many ways in which the especially when you arrive in a company, it's just the ways it's already working really well there. It's about, okay, how can we improve, but also what is already great here that we could maybe use when we go back.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, definitely. Um, Lots of people are thinking about in the workplace, it's hard. I mean, the culture is so different. It's hard it's, let's say, there's a lot of things about, a lot of stereotypes in mind about working in Japan.
Mhm,
And so how did you manage like adapting to the
mhm,
culture in Japan?
mhm. Well, on one point, to give you an example, I still had last week, I was like, what is this super loud noise right next to me in the office? It was somebody faxing something. So it kind of gives you an idea. That's not a cliche. People still fax in Japan.
Okay,
That
interesting.
happens. But I think it comes with time, and it's kind of like a soft skill you acquire by, I think, observing a lot, doing a lot of research. I think it's also one of the advantage I had of being for 1 year at university in Japan. Before that, I had a great class by like the dean of our school of business where I was, which was supposed to be about CSR in Japan, but actually kind of was more about, we did deep research into like Japanese history, and kind of through Japanese history and like societal structures, understanding how today this translate in the workplace, and all these unwritten rules of like behaviors, of hierarchy, of implied hierarchy because of the age, because of the level. So there's a lot of unsaid rules that it's you can't just like magically figure it out. You have to kind of
Yeah.
do your research to understand how it is. And
Yes.
like I said, it's like not arrive like a an elephant in a porcelain store. Like, I'm just gonna do like this the French way. It's like, you can't do it. Like,
So you were saying like, okay, you have the mindset, like you come with an open mind, you're trying, you're nice, you respect, you observe. So that
mhm,
is within you. But there is when you go to Japan, your advice would be really to um, also have these big learning curves about the culture and how to behave. So
mhm,
it means that what you're thinking can translate into the right behavior. I mean, the behavior that is adapted to the culture,
mhm.
right?
Yes, yes, of course. It's like I said, a lot of unwritten rules in Japan, but then, and that's why I'm saying it gets more complicated than this, because the reality is, like, for example, you see a lot of content of people saying like, oh, all those things you should not do when you come to Japan. Don't do that when you come to
Yeah,
Japan. Rules are important
simplify
in
the whole
Japan,
thing.
but you can't get like overwhelmed by it. Like, you still need, and that's where it gets hard, because you need to find the right balance between, I'm going to respect things as much as possible, understand it, but then you can't kind of forget yourself and your own culture, and just, you can't just become totally like, just gonna, you're gonna subject yourself to what's going on, and then not kind of lose what makes you like, and like what you brought by being also like coming from a different culture. And that's really hard balance to strike.
Yes, yes. Because you need to learn, but then integrate and still
Mhm.
feel yourself.
Yes.
So that takes a long time, I guess.
Yes, it takes a long time, and it's still not like, it's still like, I've been here for 8.5 years, and it's still complicated for me to be able to
Sometimes,
figure out that balance.
so it means, if I understand well, it means that sometimes you're thinking something and you don't know what's the right behavior to have according to one situation.
Yes, probably. It's very, it's yeah, you want to do the right thing, but sometimes
Yes,
it can
of
be
course.
hard.
Yeah,
Yes.
the intention is always to do the right thing,
Yes.
but sometimes it doesn't translate how we want. Like
Mhm.
this is about like being
Mhm.
with other people.
And that's what makes it tricky, and I think that's why, a lot of people don't necessarily stay here like too long. I think people sometimes kind of give up, like, oh, it's too complicated, it's too narrow of a line to thread, So it's easier. Sometimes we talk about my partner is like, so he's also a foreigner, he's a different nationality than me, not Japanese, and how he's like, just why are we making our life so complicated? Why are we could just go back to Europe, it'll be so much easier. Why are we, but then we end up loving it here. So it's yeah, you have ups and downs, of course.
Yes, yeah, but that's totally understandable.
Hmm.
Um, Looking back on this experience of 8 years abroad in Japan, is there anything you would have done differently?
Well, like I said, probably like try and be like less scared of speaking Japanese earlier. I probably would have a better level now, that's for sure, and it's an important part. Other than that, probably no. To be honest, it's at least like there's no regret. It was a big gamble for me to decide to stay. It was kind of shifting from the specific like path that I was supposed to go on. And so far I haven't regretted it. It's been an exciting adventure. No, but other than that, yes, no, probably. mm, I think the language is the big thing because of course it just touches to every part of your life. That's where
Yes,
you notice how essential that is.
it
So
is
it's
essential.
yeah.
What have you learned about yourself on this journey?
I think I learned, at least very recently in the past 2, 3 years, like I said, to be more kind to myself, to not try to like I think I always want to do like be the best and do the best way possible, and just sometimes you just try your best, which is a very different than being the best. So it's, yes, being more relaxed about things, kind of attentive to what's going on. Yes, be more kind to yourself, and be more patient with everything.
And the last question, I'm asking this question to everyone. Imagine your best friend is moving to Tokyo next month. What would be the three pieces of advice that you would give to them?
Probably the first one will be, like I said, be patient. Everything takes time. And I'm not just talking of everything we've been saying so far. I'm also talking about like everything takes time in Japan. To apply for a phone, find an apartment, everything.
Okay.
It can be very complicated. So it's both be patient with yourself, but also be patient with the system you're arriving in. The next thing is, yeah, like probably, of course, learning the basic of the language is useful, but also, like I said, learning about the culture is like can be important. And it doesn't mean just looking up like list of rules, but just like understanding where those rules are coming from and why like the society is this way. I think it's important. And then a third one would be, don't use your phone in the train because people hate this in Japan. You're not allowed to do that.
Okay. Okay. So now we know.
That's
So
that's the big one. That's the one that I understand the rule in Japan is like, please don't do that.
people tell you, can you
It's
turn off your
very,
phone? Or they look at
yes.
you. How does
Yeah.
it
Well, to be honest, you're on the train and there's like very, I mean, I take the subway every morning to go to work, and it's just you have like announcement. It's like, please refrain from using your phone on the train because it's like like uncomfortable for other people there. And it's, when you think about it, it's
say?
very,
Using your phone, talking to people or
talking to
scrolling,
people on the phone.
but you can scroll.
Oh, you can scroll. Yeah, of course. Just
Okay.
no
Okay.
loud
I know
sounds.
that would be a great thing, like to forbid all the yeah,
No,
okay.
yeah, don't be on the phone in the train.
Yeah,
It's
don't
rude.
talk to
They should do
people.
that in every country.
Yes, actually, in Switzerland, also it's also not forbidden, but like not welcome at all if you're speaking with someone on the train. Okay, it can be like, okay, I cannot talk now. I call you later. That is
Yeah.
fine. But if you have like a real like 30 minutes conversation, you need to go on the platform. You can't go inside.
Exactly. Yes. I think
Yeah.
that's a great rule. If there's one rule that's no problem with, it's that one.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Lauren, for this great conversation and for sharing your journey with us. Very,
Thank you very much.
very interesting. So, to our listeners, we hope that you also find this conversation very inspiring and valuable to you. Maybe you are now planning on going to Japan. Um, so don't forget to register. There will be a live Q&A organized. So there is a link below this video. You register on a waiting list, and also please follow us on our LinkedIn page. So thank you again, and we see you in another episode. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.